Let's talk now to Charles Felman, co-host of KNX In-Depth daily news program on KNX Radio in Los Angeles, California. Charles, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
So here we are. You know, we've been talking about it for a long time. We've been thinking about it for a long time. We still don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, I was saying yesterday to a couple of your colleagues, commentators in the USA, it's the first election I think I've ever seen which could either be very, very close indeed and too close to call, or a landslide. Which is it?
Well, that's the the $100,000 question, isn't it? Nobody really knows. I mean, the polls are so close, and you're quite right. I mean, you know, there are pollsters who will tell you that if you look back over the past few presidential elections in this country, in the U.S., the polls tend to be off in the end by anywhere from 4 to 5 points.
Yeah.
So if that holds true for this current election, and they're off by 4 or 5 points, all bets are off because they're so tight, you know, Harris and Trump, that if either one of them goes within that particular 4 or 5 point margin of error, they become the winner. But, you know, Mike, this is, I'd love to say that Election Day is going to be the end of this very long election process, but you and I know that that's probably not going to happen. This is going to be, I think, a very long process, no matter who ends up winning.
Yeah, because there's going to be all sorts of arguments. But this is why some people are hoping, if it at least is a landslide, it won't be quite so easy to contest it, because if the votes are big in one direction or another, the other side that's lost won't be able to say, we need a recount, or, you know, we need a lawsuit, or we need some kind of, you know, investigation into how these postal votes arrived. You know, 10,000 votes have made a difference to winning and losing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The worst outcome can actually be a very close outcome, regardless of whether it's Trump or Harris that might squeak by. And that's because unless one of them just has a blowout, you know, similar to, for example, what Ronald Reagan did many years ago, and when it was a landslide victory against Jimmy Carter, unless one of them pulls that off, if it's a close race, then this is going to be bogged down in litigation for weeks, possibly months, and we could have a replay if you go all the way back to, you know, Al Gore and George
the hanging
Bush.
chads.
The hanging chads in Florida, right? And that ended up being decided by the U.S. Supreme Court.
Right. So,
you know, could that happen again? Yeah, it could.
It could. Donald Trump has been rattling around, of course, in the last few days. He's actually, I think even as we speak, still speaking at a rally right now over in the in Michigan, I think it is. But he was in Pennsylvania last night, and he was talking about Nigel Farage, who's over there at the moment, who's now, of course, an MP here in the UK for the Reform Party. Let's have a look.
You have a man from Europe. I don't know if he's here. I saw him backstage. What he did was, and what he is doing is sort of what we did a few years ago. He's doing a great job. He's a fantastic. He's always been my friend for some reason. He liked me. I liked him, and he's shaking it up pretty good over there. He was the big winner of the last election in the UK, and he's a very spectacular man, very highly respected, Nigel Farage. He's a little bit of a rebel, but that's good. You know, that's good. Don't change, Nigel.
I'm not sure how Nigel feels about being described as a man from Europe. It's kind of unusual. And, of course, let's get Elon Musk, who's also been talking a lot this week. This is what he had to say about Joe Rogan.
If the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final... This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried to push back?
And I just want to, like, go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance, man.
Fascinating, the role that Elon Musk has taken in this campaign, isn't it?
Well, yes, and you know, keep in mind he does have a vested interest. I mean, you know, Musk has a lot of current and pending contracts with the U.S. government. So it's really important for his own economic future to curry favor with one candidate or the other. And I guess, he feels very strongly, clearly, that Donald Trump is the guy for him. And so he wants to, I'm sure, make sure that his economic future is secured.
I suppose if you were looking at it from a perspective of a businessman, though, you would want to keep in with both of them, wouldn't you, just in case one of them didn't win?
Well, and in fact, not that long ago, according to various reports, Musk actually did contribute some money to Kamala Harris.
Right.
Why at another point in time he decided to go all in on Donald Trump, he hasn't really explained what that shift was, why he had this apparent, epiphany in favor of Trump. But he certainly is all in, and he certainly has been using his social media platform, which I still can't get myself to say X. I still call it Twitter.
I don't. But everybody does. I mean,
yeah. I mean, the X thing just doesn't do it for me. But he certainly has been using it quite, vigorously in support of Donald Trump. So he's all in on this one.
Right. Fascinating. I'm going to ask you the $64,000 question, Charles. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I have devised my own special way in close elections of determining who I think is going to win. And it goes like this. I take a coin out of my pocket and I assign heads to Kamala Harris and tails to Donald Trump, and then I give it a toss. And whichever way it comes up, that's the winner.
Right. Brilliant. Good stuff. Nothing like honesty in politics. You lead the way, Charles. Thank you very much indeed. Charles Felman, co-host of KNX In Depth daily news program on KNX News Radio in Los Angeles.